Hello friends, today I am back with another product review slash home improvement project, a pull down TV mount. Nowadays it has become quite common to mount TVs on the wall, not just to save space or to make things work when you have a fireplace bang in the middle of your living room, but also because the thinner minimalistic displays have become part of the home aesthetic. Now, putting the TV above your fireplace or mantle does pose a problem. For example, when we sit on our couch, our eye level is at 45 inches. The ideal height of the TV should be such that the midpoint is at or below your eye level so that you're not craning your neck upward. However, if we mount the TV over our mantle, bringing it close to the eye level becomes impossible since our mantle shelf is 56 inches high by itself. So, to address this kind of need, manufacturers have brought in mounts that will attach above your fireplace or mantle in the conventional mounting location, but can be pulled down to the level that you need. There are a few components to this modification that makes the construction much harder. Hence, the pull-down TV mounts are more expensive. You need hydraulics to support the movement as well as to keep the TV stationary at intermediate points, and you need a more robust mount as you will be constantly tugging at it. So we decided to go with the MantelMount MM 540. While more expensive than the generic products you will find on Amazon, MantelMount is a brand with good reviews and a good warranty. And we wanted a better built mount due to the reasons I stated earlier. Also, the MM 540, unlike its little brother the MM 340, gave us tilt and swivel. And we wanted to be able to watch the TV from a different part of the room, so we needed the swivel. So once you open the nondescript brown box, the first thing you find is the template. Underneath, you find a slip of paper with a contact number if you need help during assembly or are missing a part. This, along with the really comprehensive manuals in English and Spanish, are great resources you will miss in many generic TV mounts. The plastic paintable covers are included. The wall braces are separate rods rather than one single rectangular mount. And that gives you flexibility if you have outlets you need to work around, such as I did. You have soundbar connectors, which I think is a nice touch. The hardware is very well organized, numbered, and referred to in the manual. The first step involves mounting the hardware to your TV. For that, you need the two vertical braces, the brace extenders, the handle to pull down the TV, and a long cross brace. First, the positioning of the vertical braces. They are supposed to be at least 3 inches from the bottom, likely for proper stability. The manufacturer advised using round holes for the upper visa screws, so I needed to use the lowest round hole on the vertical brace for the upper screws. Since I have a relatively smaller TV, 40 inches, that will mean that the braces will stick up at the top, but that cannot be avoided. As long as your VESA mounts are 200mm by 200mm, this mount will work for your TV. They included screws of 3 thicknesses and 3 lengths of each. The M6 screws worked for me. Now if the screw is too small, it wouldn't go far enough into the TV cabinet and provide sufficient structural support. Too long, and it would either go in too deep or stick out. For me, the Goldilocks size was the medium. After the vertical braces are put, you put the brace extenders in. These allow for variability when you need to put in sound bars, etc. The extenders have a slot through which you pass the cross brace in. The cross braces are screwed in while the extenders are flipped, but I still place them within the vertical braces so that they are aligned. Center the cross brace and then screw it to the extenders at these points. Use the smaller hex screws and you will need a 5x32 inch bit. Now you can flip the extender cross brace combo. First, make sure that the extenders are situated at the appropriate height. The handle needs to stick out about an inch below the TV bottom. So you need to determine where to attach the extenders to the vertical braces and the handle to the cross brace to make that work. In my case, I used the third set of holes on the extenders and the third set of holes in the handle. Once that is done, connect the extenders to the vertical braces using bolts and nuts and connect the handle to the cross brace at the locations you determined. Note that I have already attached my Roku and Chromecast so that I don't have to do it while the TV is suspended. Now we get the wall ready. There are 3 things to do with respect to preparing the wall. First, find your studs using a stud finder. The mount is very heavy and you will be pulling on it frequently, so I wouldn't even suggest trying to attach it to the drywall. If you have just one stud, MantelMount sells an attachment. If your studs are farther apart than 16 inches or if they are not centered, don't worry, the mount will still work. Second thing to determine is how high you want the mount. The minimum height depends on the distance between the lower end of the vertical braces and the TV and the depth of the shelf. There's a table in the manual, and according to that, the minimum distance for me should be 3 inches, but I wanted to leave room for a bigger TV or a soundbar in the future, so I opted for 7 inches. This also allowed me to work around the outlets. Once I'd marked it on the midline of the studs, I used the template to determine the corresponding upper screw hole locations. In my case, I'm really glad that I actually tested if the braces can be attached at the screw hole locations that I marked, which revealed that the upper braces were actually hitting the outlets. So I had to move the whole mount up by 1/4 of an inch. So I recommend testing your location out by laying out the wall braces. Also take the opportunity to find the midpoint of the wall and its location with regards to the wall braces. In my case, I was able to center the braces pretty well, but if your studs are not centered, mark whichever hole in the brace aligns with the midpoint of your wall and then attach your lifting arm afterwards in that location. Your TV will still be overall centered. The third thing is making sure that everything is level. Here I am leveling the braces before screwing them to the wall, even though I did measure the bottom hole location at 7 inches. Since I wanted to swivel the TV 60 degrees to the left, that's where our dining table is, rather than the default 30 degrees each way, I needed to attach the included swivel mount kit. You will need a 1/2 inch hex socket. Before you remove the swivel rod, check how tightly it is attached. Not all the way, since it wouldn't swivel, but also not too loose. Remember, you'll have a lot more torque when you swivel holding the edge of the TV. So remove the plate, keep track of all the hardware you removed, and attach the upper and lower swivel plates in using the hardware in the same pouch. Essentially, you remove the swivel rod from the central position, attach a plate that provides a connecting point on either side of the center, and then reattach the swivel rod either to the left or the right as you need. Since I needed to swivel to the left facing the TV, I attached the rod to the left hole facing the mount. Remember, the order the hardware comes out is the same order that it goes in. First, the upper ledge from the tilt plate, then the upper ledge from the mount with a washer in between, then the lower ledge from the tilt plate and the lower ledge from the mount, again with a washer in between, finally a rubber stopper and then the nut. Now you put your wall braces in. The hole in the upper brace points upwards and the raised side should be towards the mount. Make sure to align the hole on the wall brace that corresponds to the midpoint on your wall to the midpoint of the lifting arm. For me, that was just the center hole of the brace. Putting in the screws was a bit fidgety. Do the same for the lower braces. Before you start drilling, make sure to dry fit your mount to the wall. I put a piece of tape at 2.5 inches on my bit to make sure that I am drilling to the correct depth. I also made sure that the holes were fully cleaned out so that the accumulated sawdust in the holes don't get in the way of the lag screws in the next step. Note that I put some wood scraps to support the mount just below where I'll be holding it up. This was a precaution because if by chance my hands slipped, I wanted to prevent the mount from crashing onto the shelf and possibly injuring someone. Make sure to work with a partner. One person holds it up while the other tightens the screws. Do not over tighten, you can crush the drywall. Double check the level before you complete tightening the screws. The manual instructs attaching the TV brace while the mount is up, but that made no sense to me. You cannot access the holes on the tilt plate from the back as you cannot swivel or tilt it, and the mount is way back next to the wall. So pull the mount down and have someone put the safety bolt in. Once the mount is lowered, you can rest the TV plate temporarily on a notch on the tilt swivel plate and swivel it out to one side to give you room while you put in the screws. Before fully tightening the screws, make sure to check the level a third time. There are multiple parts that can go out of alignment and mess up your level. Now you can hang the TV to the mount. Make sure to check for centering and leveling one last time and then put in the screws. Since I opted for the 60-degree swivel, the tilt plate was attached off-center to the lifting arm. I can compensate for that by sliding the TV over to the other side by a few millimeters. Unlike the swivel, you cannot tilt the TV freely. You need to loosen a nut and adjust it semi-permanently before tightening it back. Since both sides need to be tilted equally, some sort of a ruler to measure the tilt would have been helpful. Next, you adjust the tension. You use a 14mm hex socket here to raise or lower the attachment point of the gas springs here. If your TV is very light, a stronger lifting force will try to continuously raise it. Similarly, a weaker lifting force will fail to support a heavier TV, leading to the arm falling, potentially damaging your shelf. So you need to balance it exactly. My TV is on the lighter end of the range, so I raised the contact point as high as it would go, and that worked. You might have to go through a bit of trial and error to reach this point. Turn the screws a bit, remove the safety bolt and check while supporting the arm manually, then again readjust, etc. This is how far the mount goes with the bottom stop in place. Since I had more room below the mount than the minimum requirement, and since my shelf is shallow, I removed the bottom stop and increased the range of motion. There is a swivel stop screw in place, but for me it was too short, so I used one of the M6 long silver screws that I hadn't needed. I also put a piece of electrical tape so it wouldn't scratch the metal. With that, the TV mount was completely installed. As you can see, now the TV comes down sufficiently so that we can watch TV without craning our neck upwards. Overall, I am very pleased with the mount. Again, it was more expensive than a simple wall mount, but the flexibility and comfort it offers, along with the build quality, makes us very happy with the purchase. If this helped your buying decision and installation, please like and subscribe. That's it until next time. Thanks and goodbye.